Okay, go.
Hi, I'm Everest.
I'm Sharon.
I'm Chloe.
And I'm Yip.
Yeah.
Today we are going to discuss what makes a successful, sustainable urban community of the future. So, first and foremost, we have to define what is sustainability. Developments that meet the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their own needs. So, what do you guys think the most important factors to consider?
Okay, so,
So-
who would like to go first? Okay, you go
Yeah,
first.
sure. We can divide our factors into two. First is social and economics. The second one is environment. And I think social and economics will be the most important one if you consider what the most important one, because the economics, like the employment rates, and it is very important. If people get no jobs from the society, they will have no income, no salary.
okay.
So then they cannot buy anything, and they couldn't survive without it.
So, yeah, it isn't sustainable, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then,
What about?
how about you? What do you think?
Yes, I would like to talk about the environment aspect.
Mm.
Like, we have global warming, and I think for a successful, sustainable urban community, we should check our carbon footprint. Like, most of the carbon emission is from burning the fossil fuel for generating our electricity. So, I think most of the countries should stop their carbon emission by stop doing burning fossil fuel for the electricity and choose the like
More renewable energy,
yes,
such
renewable energy
like
for the
water,
electricity.
Right. So, such as water, wind energy, and
Yes,
change
sun,
to solar energy.
Yeah.
Nuclear.
Yeah, nuclear is more efficient nowadays. So
Yeah, but a little bit dangerous.
yeah, a bit dangerous, but still way more efficient. And then anything else we can add? So
Yeah, I do think environment is important aspect to think of when we consider like sustainability. Like so, a lot of countries are doing like zero carbon emission by 2015. Like for example, like a lot of country like United States, China, something like that. But I think economic and social aspect is more important than environment, because if you consider that like majority of us are struggling to make ends meet, they have no food. Like there's a lot of food shortage during the COVID period. So compared to that, we should first focus on our social and economics to like there is sufficient food supply, water supply that is more urgent for most of us.
so you feel like okay. So we need those stuff first so that we
Yeah.
can protect the environment.
Yeah,
Does that
yeah.
make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
we should consider like environment later.
environment later, we should care about ourselves first, then the environment to
Yeah.
save our earth.
Sure.
Correct.
In my perspective, what Everest just mentioned is really important that he mentioned about the employment rate. However, we really face a lot of challenges on solving these problems, like inequality between different countries and communities. Like our poverty is the gap between
The
rich people and
poor people.
poor
Okay.
people is enlarging.
It's enlarging, and then what should we do to shorten the gap? Is there any bright ideas? So, can you think of any? Can you think of any like ideas to unwiden the wage gap? Not the wage gap, the wealth gap. Any ideas?
Like for Hong Kong, we can build more public housing for the poor people.
Okay, so to make the rent lower in a way, to make the rent lower, but then that might correct.
Yeah, there are some policy in Hong Kong that government implemented to like give some money to the poor, like comprehensive social assistance, like some transfer payment we do like consumption something like that.
Okay,
To-
I actually have a, I actually read this somewhere. So, the way to shorten the wealth gap in a way is to tax the rich more. So like because some people in the U.S., some rich people in the U.S., they actually have ways to avoid taxing. So they would invest their stuff into stocks so that the stocks are non-taxable. You know what I mean? Like so you cannot actually tax that. So they actually pay way less tax than an average American. So by how do you say this? So by finding a way to tax that certain stock, it would make the wealthy pay more taxes, and then to shorten the wealth gap. Do you understand?
Yes, and our governments should carry out more feasible policy on social welfare.
Okay.
Yeah, there are lots of ways that those rich people get rid of those taxes, and a lot of ways
Yeah.
that is not ethical in some ways.
Okay, so anything we can add to the environmental aspect? Now that we talked about the social and economic aspect so much, we
I
need
think
to
like we have too much challenges faced when we want to improve the environmental aspect because like you know Paris Agreement that different countries they have a agreement on the carbon emission like carbon trading,
Okay.
but some like third world countries or they have slower. They don't want to slow their economic development.
Right.
They don't want to give up the industrialization. So they can't meet the targets of carbon emission.
Okay.
Yeah, there's like no consensus between like developed countries or like
Yes.
developing countries. Yeah, because like developing countries they need a lot of resources to develop their economic. The whole society needs a lot of oil. Food, yeah.
So they need to sacrifice the environment in a way to build their economy.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
yeah, sure.
Yes.
So the more rich countries, so they have the ability to focus on the environment because they already have a good economy.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah, something like that.
European countries. But however, some developing countries like India, China, Cambodia, that they really need the economic
Yeah,
development
understand.
to improve like people living standard.
Okay, so can you give me an example of a successful, sustainable urban community? So like, okay, so you need to have both social, economic aspect and environment. So they need to have a fine balance, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think Singapore is doing quite well. Like they are developing smart city, so they can have a balance between the environmental aspect and
And the
social
social
aspect.
aspect. That's good. Singapore is doing quite well.
Yeah, so, I heard that Singapore has a policy like everyone is guaranteed housing. Something like that. So that is a very good policy. If you consider like the situation in Hong Kong, we barely can like afford a housing in Hong Kong.
It's expensive, right?
Yeah, it's so
So
expensive.
expensive. And the wages don't cover for housing.
Yeah,
I mean
true.
it's high. Okay, so compared to Malaysia, the Hong Kong wage is way higher, but then because the housing is so expensive, right? The ratio is not correct. Even though Hong Kong has higher wage. Do you understand?
Yes. Yes, true.
True.
Income per capita.
Yeah. Then there's so much people in Hong Kong fighting over like houses, so that's why the prices go up. The supply is way less than the demand.
Yeah.
Okay, so anything we can add? Successful. So our example for a successful and sustainable urban community is Singapore, right?
Okay. Singapore.
Let's stop.
Maybe
we can discuss a bit more.
little bit more.
She add something about Singapore. So let's do a conclusion.
Yeah.
So-
Maybe we can add some points on like inequality parts.
Do you have any
Inequality
ideas?
part, like social and economic, we can apart from like income equality, we can discuss like racial equality, like
racial
gender
equality.
equality. We can discuss something like that.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
included in the social and economic aspects.
Okay. So I feel like a successful urban community is where everyone is equal. Right?
Yeah.
Everyone is equal, and then everyone has the same equal chances, so everyone can, in a way, become rich, like become successful. So that there's more chances of, like, people think differently, right? Even regardless of the race, the gender. So maybe like, let's say, the people that are the minorities might not have the same chances as people in the whites don't have more chances compared to the other minorities in America.
Yes.
Yeah. So, in a way, if we can make sure that the minorities get as much chances as the majorities, then I feel like there would be a possibility that it becomes more successful.
Yeah, that's a big problem in United States something because people with color also is often being discriminated. In the workplace. There's a protest like back to 2020, and there's a movement with
BLM, Black Lives Matter.
yeah, Black Lives
Black
Matter.
Lives Matter.
Yeah, but the situation is getting more better as people more concerned about this issue and trying to make the ratio more
Equal.
more equal.
Okay.
Yes, and like we can raise people's attention through some education, like holding talk about inequality, no matter race or gender.
Okay. Yeah.
Conclusion, maybe we should.
Can
So,
talk.
you want to talk some more? Anything else to add?
Anything else?
Nothing else. So let's conclude.
Yeah,
So
sure.
in conclusion, what's our conclusion?
Conclusion. Yeah. So have you reached any consensus of what is the most important factor to consider?
What's the most? I feel like, yeah, as you said,
We believe that we should put social and economic
first.
aspect for
Yeah,
our
yeah.
first priority, and then
environmental.
Yeah, that's true.
Because the environmental problem is not only based on our own effort. There's some physical factors can also affect our Earth body environment.
Okay.
The second that I will consider is that whether it is cater for the majority of minority, like the social and economic aspect, we can focus on the majority, focus on the needs of majority of people.
Okay. That's it.
Yeah. So let's finish now.
thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye-bye.